We have been here since Monday, and during our stay we have talked to residents on matters reconciliation. The big question being, 5 years down, have people moved on? Well, it is in this light that I visited 3 places that were bedeviled by the violence back in 2008. I'm talking about Cheptiret, Burnt Forest and Kiambaa, which, if you recall, were no-go zones at that particular time. And here is what I found. During the post-poll chaos, the image of Kenya was undoubtedly tainted. These are the pictures that Kenyans and even the world will remember when you mention areas like Burnt Forest, Kiambaa or even Cheptiret, which were wholly affected by the ugly clashes. However, with time, these images fade away as residents embrace reconciliation and the desire to move on. This is Burnt Forest. People seem to have moved on after the horrific clashes that bedeviled this region during the last elections. Businesses now thrive with positive messages being shared by residents.
Mwaka huu tunaona mambo ni shwari kupita hata biashara zetu, na hata wenye tunaishi na hawa bado tuko pamoja na tuna huo upendo.
Now this is Burnt Forest Trading Center, a place where so many people lost their lives and their businesses during the post-election violence. And to give you a practical example, the building behind me, that is the Tarakwa Inn Guest House, was one of the buildings that was burnt to ashes. But now residents are very positive that the state of affairs here at this trading center will remain the same. They say that the communities have come together preaching peace, and they'll embrace peace all the way throughout the electioneering period. 18-year-old Walter Olili was just 13 when the clashes rocked this area.
We thank God because that time like now, we have one group inside, and a group another one for ODM and another one for PNU. But for now, to me, on a great change, I couldn't expect that these tribes will come to build one thing, but that's the great thing. But us as youth, like me now, this supermarket per highway, one thing we normally pray, wherever, if it will be Jubilee win or CORD win, one thing we as Kenyans we want is a peaceful country.
A few meters down is a market that was set up by a non-governmental organization to allow women from different communities trade together to foster peace and reconciliation. We set out to Cheptiret, an area that is infamous for the violence. This police post was set up after the post-poll chaos. Residents tell me its presence is a reminder of how long it took before they could live in harmony, and as such, they will never again allow peace to evade them. From my interactions, 2 things became prominent. The first was the residents' view of the ICC cases affecting presidential hopeful Uhuru Kenyatta and his deputy William Ruto, both of the Jubilee coalition.
Wakati vijana wetu walipelekwa Hague, Uhuru na Ruto, ni Mungu alikuwa anafungua njia ya kutupatanisha.
The second was the discontent that the residents had in regard to Eldoret being as a hotspot.
Watu wameelewa, wanaishi pamoja, they integrated people now. There's nothing like that.
Our final destination was Kiambaa, a place where men, women and children were burnt to death during the polls. Here, fresh flowers lay as it is just about 2 weeks when a memorial service was conducted for the departed. Here I meet Elizabeth Wangoi. You will remember her from this picture that was widely used to tell the story of just how horrible the violence was. She has now aged and can barely hear, but she tells me that she has forgiven all the people who burnt her son and razed down her home where she was born and raised. She, like many other Kenyans, hope that Kenya remains peaceful for the years to come. Well, that is the reconciliation status here in Eldoret, a place that was hardly hit by the violence. And at this time, I'd want to introduce my guests this evening. I'm going to start on my right with Bishop Korir. He has been a front runner in the peace message. Thank you so much for joining us. On my left, we have a young man, Mr. Israel. Here in Eldoret, he's what you'd call the in thing. He is a peace ambassador, has released a couple of songs that basically talk about peace. Well, To start this conversation, Bishop, we have seen the story. People are positive about the change. People are in a reconciliatory mood, so to speak. What has been the major aid in this?
The major aid in this is that since 2008, at the height of clashes, the church began a reconciling team. So we established what we call a peace building committee in every village, and the village we call the basis was dialogue, face-to-face dialogue, and we brought together the community, and the community were able to discuss together at the height of that clashes, and this the church has kept going up to today. So what you see is the fruits of that. So we are talking about village-to-village committee. The work of this committee, we empower them to have power to dialogue among themselves. We empower them to monitor the situation, and up to today they are monitoring, so we know what is happening on the field as we speak today. Yes.
Is this change felt also at the grassroots? Because we're able to visit various spots, like we saw in the story, Burnt Forest, Chepteret, and also Kiambaa. Is the reconciliatory process also started in different parts of Eldoret in the grassroots?
Yes, we started first as a pilot scheme in Yamumbi, and we spread it up to Burnt Forest, Timbarwa, and the whole town here. So it was not easy to begin that time because people were fighting. So what we started was, for example, I started with 2 people, Kikuyu and Kalenjin, and then we increased the number to 10, 5, 5, and then from there we increased the number to 15, 15, 30. And we built a building, what you call a face-to-face dialogue, and they were able to raise the issue themselves. So we firmly can confirm that this grassroots level has worked.
What were the major roadblocks that you found on the way?
The major roadblock was first is these people have been fighting since 1992 and 97. So to heal those many years was a major roadblock. And first there was a lot of suspicious. Each group having suspicion of one another, and the suspicion built around non-facts. So when they sat down there, we asked each community in every peace building committee to raise the issues, what are the causes of violence, and they themselves were able to raise the 2 issues, land and politics. So we started working on politics because when the new constitution came in, we say the land commission can work at that one land. So we concentrate on the politics, and this politics. So we worked on it until now. We have what you call consensus, and this consensus goes back to the village. And now there were different level of approach of consensus. The village level, political level, began with councillors and the MPs as the climax of it.
All right.
Yes.
Bishop, we'll just take a short commercial break. When we come back, you'll give us more insights about the church and even other organizations, what other organizations have been doing in this respect. Well, let's take that short commercial break. More coming up. Stay tuned.